This is the Witcher podcast on TV Podcast Industries. We're back talking about The Rats, a Witcher tale.
I don't know how long I was there, in a cellar, but I figured out how to pick the lock. Worked that thing until my fingers bled and made it to the radio, half dead. Which is what I'd be if Ace hadn't found me and taken me to Orla's.
I don't know, Mistle. When a job gets personal, it gets reckless. We all agreed when we started this gang to check our feelings at the door and keep the past in the past.
There's a million guys like Brigden out there who use this war to take what they want and crush anyone who gets in their way. And guess what? They're all going to be at that fight. So how about we take something from them for once, huh?
It would feel good. Just this once. Right, kids?
Welcome back, fellow Witchers, to TV Podcast Industries. Ooh, surprise, we're back talking about The Witcher for The Rats, a Witcher tale, the spin-off movie in the Witcher universe. I am one of your hosts, Derek.
Hello there, fellow Witchers. Welcome back to the continent, aka the Witcher podcast. I am one of your other hosts, John.
Yes, a tale of rats rather than a rat's tale this time, John. That's your Roland rat.
It is.
Oh, very impressive. We are of the same vintage. That's why I recognise
Little Roland rat.
No Roland rats in this episode.
No, there wasn't.
No.
Just the rats.
But this is a real surprising one. I surprised John with this while we were covering The Witcher, that there is this coming up. And apparently this was a prequel movie, but only available when you watched all 8 episodes of the show. So I've had reports from some of our listeners that couldn't find it, and some of them that tried multiple times and couldn't start it because they hadn't finished the 8th episode of the 4th season.
Interesting.
Of The Witcher. Yeah.
I mean, I can see why, given the start of this tale of the rats.
The framing device. Yes.
But equally, it was very much a choice to have that framing device where it kind of picks up from the disturbing and shocking events of episode 8 that involves Leo Bonhart and the rats, of course. And of course, yes, spoiler-filled discussion here on the Witcher podcast.
Yeah. Before we go into it, we will say you have to watch all 8 episodes of The Witcher Season 4, not only just to unlock this, but just so you don't get completely ruined for the 4th season, because it is literally the end of the season is the start of this movie. So I don't think there's anything actually else in it that would ruin things from The Witcher Season 4. It's really standalone, other than how they bookend the story for the rats. But if you, I don't know, there's some people that download things, they don't subscribe to Netflix. If you downloaded this movie thinking, oh, I'll watch this before I start season 4, you've completely spoiled season 4 of The Witcher.
Indeed, indeed.
So it's interesting that they chose to use technology and lock people out from watching the episode, unless they'd watched all 8 episodes. You couldn't even watch like the first 2 of the season and then jump into the rats. You had to watch all 8, which is really interesting.
Yeah, no, that is interesting.
I wonder will they do that again for other shows in the future, so people don't spoil themselves watching the last episode of Stranger Things or something when it comes out, that you have to watch the other episodes beforehand or something.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I mean, that's the thing. It's mainly just because of the opening literally 5 minutes, and it shows way too much.
It does, yeah.
And you could equally have just had Leo Bonhart sharpening some knives or something and speaking to camera.
Yep.
Almost as a monologue in some way.
This is how I met the rats,
Yeah.
Because actually, without the framing device, I think this would have been a really good prequel movie to watch before season 4 started. It would have been a great way to get to know those characters. Interestingly, this actually started out as a plan for a series. It was supposed to be a spin-off series. The writer for this one, Haley Hole, wrote the episode alongside Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich, the showrunner for the regular Witcher show. She went off to develop this season of a show for the rats, giving them their own spin-off within the continent, effectively. And unfortunately, it didn't get turned into a season. So the tale that we see here is taken from that idea that she had for that spin-off series that wasn't commissioned. So this would have been the way that it would have been introducing all of these characters of the rats. Probably would have expanded things in slightly different ways. Some characters may not appear until later episodes of the season, like the Witcher that we have here, Brehan. He may not have appeared until later in the season rather than appearing in this first episode, effectively.
Yeah, and interestingly, we were talking about Hotspurn. He doesn't appear at all in this. I think Hotspurn was one of the people that the rats met up with on the road, ultimately ended off being sort of crippled or at least heavily injured by Ciri.
Yes, in season 4.
And realizing that he had was at least in on this trap to ensnare the rats, that in like the final episode. So, I mean, we don't get him because we were discussing at the time, I wonder if he will be someone that you see in this TV movie, extended episode, whatever you want to call it. But no, it's not. So it's quite focused as well, and kind of looks primarily that glance off their meeting with Leo Bonhart to begin with. But ultimately it focuses, in a sense, mostly on Mistle of the rats here, who was the main love interest for Ciri.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that makes sense, again, if you're going to tie it into the show. But I presume, had it gone to series, we would learn much more about all the rest of the characters that are in here. We learn little bits extra of who the characters are, but this is, as you say, this is much more focused on Mistle, which makes sense because that's the character that you probably want to know a little bit more about since she was so connected to Ciri. I think we probably should get into talking about the movie itself and talking about spoilers and all the main details, though, shouldn't we?
Yes, let us get into our spoiler-filled discussion of The Rats, A Witcher Tale. Derek, who gave us what, where, when, and how?
Well, of course, once again, this is based on the book series by Andrzej Sapkowski and the game series from CD Projekt Red. Showrunner for The Witcher overall is, of course, Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich, who is the writer alongside Hayley Hall this time. Hayley Hall is a staff writer on season 1 and wrote episode 6, Rare Species. By episode 2, Hayley was an executive story editor for the show and wrote episode 5, Turn Your Back, and wrote season 3, episode 3, Reunion, before going off to develop The Rats as a spin-off, which eventually became this movie, as I mentioned earlier on. The director for this episode is Mairzee Almas. We've covered lots of Mairzee's shows all the way back to Jessica Jones. We also love Shadow and Bone and Lock and Key, which Mairzee was involved in. But Mairzee also directed one of the best episodes of The Sandman. She directed season 1, episode 5, The Sound of Her Wings, the episode about death and dream together in the waking world. So an excellent episode of that show. We've just finished covering the second season of The Sandman, so really appreciative of having Mairzee work on that show.
Yeah, well. Absolutely. Yeah. Great episode that from season 1.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah. Really, really good. Highly recommend anybody just to jump into that, even if you don't want to watch all of The Sandman. Have a look at that episode and see if it strikes your interest.
Yes. That one, and I think if you're a horror fan, then The Diner.
Ooh, yeah.
What was that? The John Doe, is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Check that one out as well. But yeah, that's pretty horrific. That's much more for the horror fans out there, definitely. But John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for The Rats, A Witcher Tale?
Sure. Following the events of season 4, Leo Bonhart recounts to Ciri how the rats first crossed his path. The tale centres on Mistle, a highborne woman secretly in love with her handmaiden Juniper. Their lives are torn apart when Emehr, Emperor of Nilfgaard, sends his mercenary Bert Brigden to purge towns outside imperial control. Believing Juniper dead, Mistle narrowly survives with the help of Asse, her stablehand, who escapes with her and eventually leads them to join the rats. As the young thieves' opportunities dwindle, their leader Giselher proposes an ambitious heist. Infiltrate a new fighting arena established by Dominic Hoovenagel and Robert's Vault during a major event. The vault, however, is guarded by a Jallowick, a monster that only a witcher can kill. Desperate, the rats recruit Brehan, a disgraced and alcoholic former witcher, infamous for abandoning a Striga contract. Training under Kaylee and Reef, Asse prepares for his fight, but everything unravels when Mistle discovers the arena's true purpose. It was built by Brigden, who, eager to earn Emehr's favour, has been conducting horrific experiments to create a new kind of monster, using human subjects, including Juniper. Determined to save her, the rats and Brehon attempt to restore Juniper's humanity while evading Bonhart, who is hunting them to claim Brehon's Witcher medallion. The story culminates in a brutal clash. Brehon sacrifices himself so the rats can escape, thwarting Bonhart for the moment. Their flight across the continent continues until fate brings them to Princess Cirilla of Sintra and towards the end of their own road.
So that's the rats. All in a trap once again. Sprung and got out of it. But yeah, this would have been the first tale that we saw of the rats. As you mentioned earlier on, quite a straightforward idea. They have a plan. They have a heist. Things don't go exactly as they planned, and then they're on the trail to go and meet Cirilla.
Yeah, absolutely. The rats are doing what the rats do, which is stealing from people, and increasingly need to get this bigger job. Because of the war on the continent, because of the attacks, the genuine fear swirling around wartime, then the size of the pots are getting smaller and smaller. So we see them at a smaller heist where they manage to steal money, but it will, after buying food and replacement supplies, it'll be 2 days worth of cash, really. So they're not hitting the big time, and ultimately this is how they get themselves to Dominique Hugovagel's Amarillo arena, where there's a big fighting and betting scene, which is ultimately to rob this arena of all the bets being made on the fighters. Yeah. So they just need that bigger job. Interestingly as well, with Dominic Huvenagel, the reason for that sort of relationship with Leo Bonhart, so to speak, is because Leo Bonhart is Huvenagel's cousin.
Yes.
So it's purely, he's there on family business, really, to secure his cousin's investments.
Yes.
And to sort of watch the arena, really.
Yeah, it is kind of difficult to get what Leo says, because he arrives, he's unexpected, but people know who he is, of course. And he just says, it's a lot of investment for my cousin. I think it's only proper that I should be interested in this. It's just not very clear whether he's been sent there to Dom because Dom thinks something's happened, or is concerned about the people that are responsible for it, or just simply that Leo is concerned about how much money his cousin is pouring into this thing, and he just wants to keep an eye over it. But he is, again, delicious in this episode, or in this movie. Just such a great job of this character. Every time I see him on screen, he just creeps me out in the way that he delivers his lines, and the way that he twists things to his own interest.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually, interestingly, by the end of it, I'm wondering, does he have a blessing or a charm or a curse around him that allows him to be so good / lucky in warfare? Maybe. Or is it just simply his own training? Because he is...
brutal.
He's brutal.
Yeah.
And even where he seems to be losing, it's kind of, he turns it around and it's like, he's thanking his opponent for going for longer than he thought he would do. So it's interesting, given the world in which The Witcher takes place, is there something that he has done to bestow this kind of certainty on him, or is it just pure arrogance?
And I think that's one of the things I was quite surprised at. I had thought, because of the connections in season 4, that we would have heard a bit more of his character, who he is, where he comes from. I had thought at a point, because of how he's introduced in The Witcher season 4 with Witcher medallions all around his neck, that we would hear that at some point in the past he had Witcher training but turned bad, almost like he went to the dark side and fought against his brothers. It's not really about that. In fact, his arrival here in the episode, you see him with one Witcher medallion. He's only killed one Witcher in the past, and he's kind of interested in taking another Witcher medallion. That's where he gets his interest in and taking out Bran. But not much more development, not much more behind it. And I would guess he was going to be the major villain if the Rats continued into a series, and we would learn more about him. But I just expected more on his intro, other than he just happened to be in the area, you know. But one thing I will say, the connections between how season 4 of The Witcher played and how the Rats play, one of the big kind of interesting things is what's happening on the continent overall is the massive war that's going on in the background almost, mainly between the Nilfgaardians, the Northlanders, and what we saw all the way throughout season 4 was that's the backdrop of what's happening with our major characters, with Ciri, with Geralt, and with Yennefer. And here with the Rats, they are the young characters who are trying to make their way in the continent with the backdrop of war going on, and with those jobs that they would have been able to take and would have been able to survive all drying up. The reason why they're all working together is because they need to take bigger and bigger jobs. They can't do things on their own anymore that would have let them live. So that's kind of the big connection, I suppose, between why this is happening now, instead of happening 4 or 5 years previously or in the future, because the backdrop is that war is happening and is affecting everybody in the continent in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But as usual, the way we talk about our coverage of The Witcher is just to pick out our major moments from the show. John, what's your big moment from The Rats, A Witcher Tale?
The big moment I've picked actually is the Jallowick, aka Juniper, who is Mistle's former lover.
Yeah.
I think firstly because as a monster, as a creature, very cool kind of design. This
Absolutely.
notion almost like a spider form or a kind of a scorpion form with the pincers, and the spiky legs, quite frightening. Like I do like how it's introduced, where you have Asse and Mistle investigating the vault where all the bets, all the money from the bets is going to be lowered down and be kept safe. And it's Mistle who says, but actually the lock on the door is really crap. It's dead easy to break. But that's because you have this Jallowick in the same area. And so I kind of like the introduction of it. I like the fact that, you know, at least to begin with, Mistle has no idea that it's Juniper. It propels the need for further muscle within the Rats, and hence approaching Brehon to come on board, which is really good. I think what I like about the Jallowick and the fact that Juniper is the person from Bert Brigden's prostitutes that he's used and shipped around the continent. Like, they've effectively experimented on her to create this monster.
Yes.
Brigden has a mage that has effectively developed and formed this Jallowick from Juniper. You have Brigden then here wanting to double cross Hoovenargle as well. But with the sight of Leo Bonhart, the mage gets twitchy and makes a run for it. He's not asked for any of that. But it links to the wider continental war in that he wants to give it to and bestow it upon the Emperor Emehr of Nilfgaard, so that he becomes in favour of Emehr.
Yes.
But also that this is a new secret war weapon that Emehr can use. And so just from season 4, I'm wondering, is that the thing that Emehr goes to down in kind of the crypt area of the White Flames?
Castle? Maybe of the same type.
Same type.
Just want to clarify one thing, just because it's a big thing for Brigden. They are using some money from Dom to develop this, but he's never going to be giving this to Emehr and never going to be gifting it to Emehr. He's selling it to Emehr.
Yeah, that's true.
And he's basically saying, nobody will mind how we got there in the end, because everybody's going to make out big. If we create the war machine, the war monster that wins this war for Emehr, we'll be showered in gold. So this is their own kind of heist plan almost.
Exactly.
So while I don't think it's going to be the thing that Emehr was looking into the cell at, this is definitely the start of it. So the other person in this power play to create the monster may have continued developing monsters and may have brought that to Emehr to take out Geralt. So that may be what the connection will be into season 5. Yeah, I think you're right on that.
I think it's kind of interesting in that connection, but also the Jalwick ultimately becomes a bit of a fight complicator as Beren and the rats are fighting Leo Bonhart after they've been sort of discovered by him, and that's mainly because at the same time as having one horrendous monster that they have to fight in Leo Bonhart, there is another horrific monster also attacking them in the form of this Jalwick, which then complicates it even more because Mistle recognizes and realizes after Brehon has used this extraction elixir on her that it is in fact Juniper, and it links back to the fact that Mistle has been seeing this ghost or shadow. It made her freeze on the opening heist that we had. It is also the fact that, this was Mistle's, handmaiden lover, that ultimately got caught when the area of Ebbing and the Lord of Ebbing, had basically been attacked by Bert, Brigden, on the orders of Emehr in order to sort of take down rebels and to incite violence against them. And this takes out Mistle's parents and her brother, but also ultimately means that Juniper and her end up as Bert Brigden's trophies that he then will sell and pimp out effectively to the highest bidder in his brothels that are across the continent. Yeah, Mistle manages to escape, but she does think Juniper is gone, dead, whatever, until she recognizes Juniper as this mutilated Jalwick.
Yeah, if you try to think of all of the villains that we've seen throughout The Witcher, most of them are reasonably complicated and kind of multifaceted. Bert Brigden is the most villainous character we have seen in a very long time in the Witcher universe. Not only is he someone that goes in and burns down towns that are suspected to have loyalties different to Emehr, he takes all of the women and puts them into sex slavery by creating sex trafficking, moving them out of their local towns and bringing them with them to different places. And then once he's done with you, he'll use you in experimentation to turn you into a monster that will potentially get even more money for him. He is such a horrible, horrible character throughout the episode from beginning to end. Even just the idea that he slaughters Mistle's father and mother for no particular reason, and then slaughters both of her younger brothers, and then takes her, the highborn princess of this town that he's just taken, and sticks her into sex slavery, going, well, you're all the same, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I just think it really just links and adds connections throughout the whole of this story, which I think is just really nicely done. As
Absolutely.
I say, and even with Asse, we find out here that he is kind of one of the stablehand. It connects to him and his intro in season 4 that, well, he prefers the company of horses to people. And I think it just connects through quite nicely for Mistle. I mean, even from the opening where you have Leo talking to Ciri, and, he just kind of says, who names their child after a parasite, talking about Mistle and mistletoe. Basically, he says, she ate you up, and this is why you find yourself in this position. And in effect, he's foreshadowing what happens to Juniper. Mistle as the highborn with that power relationship over a handmaiden, and who is about to be married, is like, yes, I don't love him, but I can deal with him because it's a marriage of convenience, for a dowry, for land, for power, for wealth, for the family, but you're still my lover, but ultimately her connection to Mistle here and the events of the Ebbing massacre ultimately means that she also eats up Juniper here. And even, with Juniper mutilated, having been disfigured, malformed by Brigden's mage, Mistle's kind of still saying, oh, but we can still save her, when she's clearly, at least physically and probably mentally, very, very damaged by this transformation. And I'm, in a sense, it almost felt like a peaceful slide out as she dies from everything that's happened to her.
You take it in this world, though, because they do have the conversation. You take it in the world of the continent that somebody may have been able to save Juniper if they had been prepared to go into that situation. Brehen's not ready for it. Brehen is ready to go in and kill the monster because that's what he's been hired for, and then to go, stop, hold on. Your whole plan that we've made to kill the monster and take the money, that plan has to change now, and now you have to save her. He's not ready for it. He's not prepared. He can't possibly switch on a dime and do that. He hasn't got the abilities, I'd say, at that time. If that had been the plan, they had 2 weeks to prepare for it, maybe he could have been able to do it.
Possibly.
If there was another mage, or maybe if Yennefer had arrived, maybe she could have been able to do it, or maybe if Geralt had arrived as a really experienced Witcher over these years, if they had arrived and been there, maybe they could have saved her in this world. But it certainly couldn't have happened there. So you're right. No. Her being called out by Leo as being in the snare of Mistle has caused her unbearable harm. And I just wanted to note as well, there is a moment when the two of them are escaping from the original attack with Bert Brigden that Juniper is telling Mistle, we need to get out of here. Both of them are free. They're running, getting out of there. And Mistle says no to her. We need to go and save my family. And because of that, the two of them are captured. So quite specifically, Juniper going to help Mistle to save her parents and her brother who are already dead. She doesn't know, none of them know that, but because they went back to save that family, Juniper is in this position.
Yeah, she ate you up effectively. Yeah, exactly. In the same way as Leo Bonhart says to Ciri, you're here on the back of this cart next to a barrel full of heads. And defeated because she ate you up. Yeah. She was the one that kept calling you back. She's the one that effectively, in essence, infected you by his analogy that she is a parasite. So it's kind of, I just think it's nicely full circle, I think, with the story of Mistle, and it's kind of centered around Juniper and this Jallowick in a way. Yeah. It's also that Mistle is it's mainly Mistle as the rat, where her story is being fleshed out through this TV movie. Yeah. And you get a bit more with Asse, and I like the fact that Asse has the kill on Brigden, even though Mistle is the one that's all out for vengeance on him. Because Asse did lose his sisters as well in this. They fought back and so were killed.
And he says he's always regretted not fighting back at all. He did the only thing he could do, which was nothing. And now he finally gets an opportunity to take out Brigden. So almost a little bit of revenge as a dish best served cold, right, from Asse. That's why he gets the kill. But it's also just interesting as well, the conversation that's there with Leo. This is all coming from Leo's perspective, right? This is his story that he's telling. So there's probably some embellishments in there as well. It's from what he's learned having met them. He wasn't there at the beginning. So some of it may be just what he suspects happened and how he feels it happened. So unreliable narrator and all that. But one of the things that is actually quite important in this, and I suspect we may see this incorporated into season 5, is something that we hadn't really thought about when we got to the end of season 4. It's understandable, but very specifically, Ciri's response to Leo saying their fatal flaw was loyalty. That's what made them weak. Ciri's saying, I've lost so much now, whatever happens, it will never even touch me. So she suspects that something really bad is going to happen with Leo, that he's going to use her in some way that is going to mutilate her, violate her, whatever way he wants to use her as being Cirilla of Sintra. And she knows it won't even touch her because she's lost all of these people that were considered her family. So that I think is a really important piece, and we're going to probably see that play out in season 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. So that's my big moment.
Excellent.
What about yourself, Derek?
I'm going to talk about Bran. We have the wonderful Dolph Lundgren back on screen. We're kids of the 80s. Dolph Lundgren was one of those people that was in the vein of Arnold Schwarzenegger and of Sylvester Stallone in the 80s. He was pretty much ubiquitous. The movies I remember him from were the Rocky franchise, of course. He was the first Punisher on screen, was Dolph Lundgren. He made the first live action Punisher movie, which I remember quite well because I watched it a lot since we had so few comic book movies back in the 80s. And he also was He-Man, John.
He was, yes, I remember, yes.
In Masters of the Universe. Yeah,
brilliant.
So that is being remade at the moment.
I do like the fact, I do like the fact as well that he introduced that 80s montage into this TV movie as well.
Oh, absolutely. When he's going through his training segment, they are 100% ripping on his character from the Rocky movies. That is absolutely a Rocky montage that he's doing.
Exactly.
This is Ivan Drago now in the continent, retraining himself. But what an interesting character. And I'm sometimes just unsure because Dolph Lundgren is now of an age, he's in his late 60s, at this stage. I'm sometimes unsure as to what part of it is that he is an older man now, that he can't do the kind of moves that he would have been able to do in his 20s and 30s, when he was acting in the US, or whether, that's how he's acting in the role. There's times he reminded me of, Andre the Giant when he was in the awesome, Princess Bride. There's moments of the movement that Dolph Lundgren has that you can tell he is a man that's used his body quite a lot over the years in stunts and in fighting, and he feels bruised and broken when he's fighting against some of these young kids. I love that of the rats, they choose Reef, the smallest and wiliest of them all, to be the one that takes him out multiple times, because I'd say that in itself just irritates a person the size of Bran. But the instant we meet him, he's a character you wanna follow. He is the drunken former Witcher who's down his luck, who's pretending to fight against a Doppler for coin, and it turns out the Doppler is just somebody wearing a mask over their face. This is where the rats meet him because they're there to take all the money, and they ruin his life because they take away the only job he has. They destroy the place because there's a big riot that happens to cover them taking the money. And we also find out that there's a connection between him and our Witcher Geralt, all the way back to season 1, episode 3. They mentioned,
great, actually,
they mentioned that there were 3 Witchers at the battle to kill the Strega, and we remember this from back in episode 3 of season 1, that there was one Witcher who died, one Witcher who ran away with the money, and the third Witcher was Geralt, who had to go in and potentially kill the Strega.
Yeah.
Interestingly, the story here plays out quite similarly. We have Bran going up against the Jalawok, and the Jalawok turns out to be someone they know, and he's asked to save them. That's pretty much what happened with the Strega in episode 3. It turned out to be not a monster. It turned out to be someone that they wanted to save, and only Geralt could do that. So I loved hearing that. I loved hearing the other side of that story that we heard back then. He wasn't a coward that ran away. He just wasn't prepared at all for what the battle entailed. So,
I like the little history that he was from the School of the Cat, and effectively, like, he's drinking to numb the rage, because I guess the School of Cat was very different, because the partner that he connects up with, they become this Witcher duo, is from the School of Wolf.
Yes,
the same as Geralt, and so they get on, they travel, they fight, and it is his friend, the person who kind of pulled him out of his funk previously, who is the Witcher that dies trying to get the Striga. So I kind of like that a lot. I think for me, like, as well, just generally, I think Dolph Lundgren here is just great. I loved his portrayal in this.
Yeah.
You know, and you're right. As soon as you said it was like Andre the Giant, there is definitely hints of that. But like,
you know, when you watch wrestling and the Undertaker comes back, and then the Undertaker's a wrestler who's been fighting since the early '90s. He's still fighting. He still comes back and has some reigns, but you can tell in the movement of him that he's used every single bone in his body and probably broken them multiple times. He's still able to fight. I still wouldn't, I want to meet him on a dark street in an angry way, but there's just movement moments.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's even with like 2 months worth of being on the rack to stretch out all those knots, past injuries and all that to get him ready for that moment. But I just thought, Dolph Lundgren's portrayal here was just really, really well done. I liked the kind of path and the journey that this kind of down on his luck Witcher had taken. I mean, even just the fact, you see that Mistle and the Witcher really aren't getting on until they do. And there's just a nice little moment between them where, he's had his montage. He's been training to try and get Asse up to fighting capability. He's also been training the other rats in Warcraft, a bit like the Vesemir was doing at Monte Calvo with the sorceresses.
Exactly.
So you have that moment. He's trying to make up the different elixirs that he'll take to use in order to take out this Jallowick. And in the end, he's kind of getting no peace and quiet, and so sort of comes out, and you have Mistle sort of again just separated from the other rats, and they just connect in that moment, and it was just like really good, I thought. I just really liked it. And then the fact that he is there sacrificing himself so that the rats are able to get away is, I thought, was really good. I thought the fight in itself, him with the Jallowick, him then with Leo Bonhart, was really, really good.
It was really well staged.
And I like that you got the smarts of him back again. Yeah. He wasn't just this drunk.
Absolutely,
with the preparation and so on, all that muscle memory had all come back. So it actually did give Leo Bonhart a pretty good run for his money.
He did, absolutely. And again, being able to use the explosives to take out the building and block himself and Leo inside to give the team a chance to get away. Yeah, really, really, really good. And also because of that connection back to season 1, episode 3, you realize this is another opportunity for him to do what he wasn't able to do back then. It's coming full circle, the way great stories do, where he's known as being the coward that ran away when facing something he couldn't face. Now he's sacrificing himself to let his new family away. So I thought that was a great use of the character. So yeah, really cool that we had Dolph Lundgren in here for this episode. It's a shame we're not going to see more of the character in the future. Definitely. Yeah. One of the things I was really surprised about, though, is that this all takes place only 6 months beforehand, before season 4 of The Witcher. So this is a flashback. This is giving us the information of who the rats are. I was expecting we would see more of the other characters. As you mentioned, there's some other characters in The Witcher who seem to be quite friendly with the rats. They seem to know a lot of people, and we don't know how they connect with them. The big thing it reminded me of was Firefly and Serenity, the big screen movie of the TV show Firefly that only lasted for 7 episodes, all shown out of order, and then 10 episodes total, and then the movie. And you watch the movie and you go, oh, all of these people in here that they know all across the galaxy, all their friends that they're teaming up with. I'll go and watch the TV show and maybe I'll get to know those ones, and then realize, oh no, actually, no, they never met any of those people in the TV show. They only met a few. Yeah, but Shepard was a member of the crew. Whereas all of the other people that they meet across the galaxy are all brand new for the movie. It was supposed to talk about, there was supposed to be about 2 or 3 years between the series and the movie. So they've met loads more people. So I would say season 4 probably was written in the idea that the rats had a whole TV show to fill in.
Agreed.
Lots of elements. And then now we have the movie, which fills in a little bit of who they are. And it's a lovely addition to the show.
I think so. And I think, I guess in some ways it's kind of, it puts sort of the rats going headlong after Leo Bonhart at the end of season 4, I think it puts it 50-50 for me. Like, I can see why they did that, seeing that Brehon, that ultimately they kind of got to know and like and was part of their team, almost an honorary rat, a bit like have with Ciri. You know, they absolutely understand that he's potentially sacrificing himself here so that they can live. Yeah. And so that kind of debt to a former rat, given the loyalty thing, but again, so yes, it makes sense, but in effect, you have that then flagged up top by Leo Bonhart again, when he's talking to Ciri, which I quite liked. You know, where he's kind of saying that, you know, their fatal flaw was that they were loyal. Yeah. And in this sense, it was loyal to Brehon. That's why they went to sort of confront Leo. And, you know, Leo says loyalty rots the brain and makes you weak. Yeah. The fact that you no longer have to be loyal to the rats whose heads are in the barrel next to her means that you can cast that off and begin to grow again. He says to her type of thing. Yeah. But equally, that explains why they did go running in. It also equally, after seeing Leo Bonhart, I'm still asking the question, why would you do that? So it was blind loyalty. Not brand loyalty, blind loyalty.
Well, kind of. Again, this is all Leo's perspective. This is what Leo's saying, and there's no one that could tell Ciri loyalty is not the way to live your life. You know, she has a family in Geralt, she has a family in Yen, she has a family in the rats. And Brehon absolutely was a member of the rats. He did take the blood oath with them as well. So he has been brought fully into the group. It explains why they go after Leo, exactly as you say, John. But I'm still questioning why they just ran into the situation. Yeah. They are people that plan. They go, this person that killed our best friend is going to be in this location for the next week or something. So we will spend the next week making a great plan to ensure that we take this guy out, because we know how powerful he is. Yeah. He took out all of us. Exactly. It took a Witcher training to take him out last time, and he just stole him. Yeah. And
actually, this whole movie is about them. We have 2 weeks to scope out how we're going to do this big heist, which is hugely dangerous, but will effectively allow us to retire from a life of crime type of thing, really. Yep. So that's in their DNA, is to plan the heist. Yeah. I mean, even the small heist at the start, it is meticulously planned. Yeah, exactly. So, yes, again, you're right. That's what I mean. I feel it adds it 50-50. Yeah. It does.
So all I can say is whoever wrote the tale of what happened with the rats was unclear of the truth of why they went in, and unclear of what actually happened between them and Leo. Because I can't imagine the rats that are here running in half-cocked, all of them at exactly the same time to Leo Bonhart. And even the ones we saw in season 4 of The Witcher. They plan. They're meticulous about their planning. That's their special skill, isn't it? So... yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's my major point, though, Brian. I was really glad to see this character in the show. I thought he did a really good job. It was great to see Dolph Lundgren on screen once again. John, any notes from you for the episode? Anything you want to mention that we haven't talked about?
Just to note the brothel with an octopus. Again, another almost a bit like a Gen V reference here with the Deep. I think in season 4 we had Juniper in the big battle of Monte Calvo using her magic to use spilt blood and turn it effectively into a buzzsaw in a sense to slice a guy in half. Yep.
Which was very like Gen V,
yeah. And here then we have the brothel where they managed to set up a situation in order to get an invite from one of the key sort of warlords that will be attending this arena and the opening of it. But you see a lady with an octopus.
It's just in the voiceover they're saying, this is the brothel that will bring you anything no matter what the requirement.
Even the
and
deep.
She's there kissing an octopus, and I'm going, okay, yeah, this is definitely a place the deep would. Would
this is like Gen V. So
Absolutely.
that was my note.
One that I really like, just the kind of closing of the episode as they're all lined up having their drink. I just like that as each of them is making their toast, the toast falls towards things that Brehon had said to them throughout the episode. They start out having a toast to family, to Brehon, and then Asse says to being alive. You're already on the right side if you are. Then Reef talks about being the reigning champion of Amarillo, because of her training with the Witcher as well, along with Acer. So she talks about that, and then they toast to Juniper, and then the possibility of a future is what they toast towards. And then finally they say they're going off to say goodbye to the ghosts and go on to exploit the Nasir deals. It's just interesting they mentioned that because when they went in to get this original plan from Orla the Psychic, who Mistle knew. She actually mentioned the contracts that were available through the Nasirs, and they went, I don't know, those are too small scale for us. We want something really big. And now at the end of this heist, they went, maybe that was a bit too big, is what it sounds like, as they ride off into the sunset to join up and do the Nasir deals.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just like that came full circle at the end, Overall then, John, how would you rate The Rats: A Witcher Tale?
I really enjoyed this TV movie. I thought it was a good one. I would give it 4 cries of the Jallowick, not the Jabberwocky, out of 5. I really enjoyed it. I think it was just a nicely contained story about the rats. I love Brehon, and I liked the sort of main protagonists in this. It was great having Leo Bonhart back. And whether they needed to have the whole spoiler thing where, this was effectively locked out if you didn't watch episode 8. I mean, that in itself is a choice. I don't think that was necessary.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to start locking people out of watching something.
I love the idea that they did, because then it wouldn't spoil season 4. That's just simply, if you're on Netflix and you press the wrong button, you go, oh God, I should have watched season 4. It's ruined for me.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean,
but I think they could have taken it out.
It is. It's good. I'm glad in that sense, it's good. But equally, the choice of having that level of Ciri and even just showing the rats' heads in a barrel.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't even need to show that.
Exactly.
Could have just been Ciri on the cart.
Yeah. Yeah.
With a barrel slopping water over it.
Exactly.
There didn't need to be any reference.
Yeah. But the fact they chose that as the framing for this episode or for this movie, I'd say that probably drew more people in to watch it who had watched season 4 of The Witcher. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it as a side story.
Me too.
And I think it could have just remained as a side story.
I've really enjoyed a lot of the side stories, actually, of the Witcher world. I think the animations have been really good. This was really good. Blood Origins, I thought, was fantastic. So I've really enjoyed these kind of spin-offs.
Yeah, and you might be pleased to know it's very difficult to judge how the ratings go for these shows, but you might be interested to know that this has gotten about a 4.9 on IMDb, and since I don't think there's an episode in season 4 of The Witcher main that got over like 4.7, so is that an indication that the fandom likes this more than The Witcher season main? But I suspect most of the people that rated The Witcher season 4 lower than a 4 or lower than a 5 didn't actually watch season 4 of The Witcher, so they've never watched The Rats either.
I mean, in the end, just there's no point, is there?
Like one of the big things, they've chosen a character here, The Witcher, Dolph Lundgren's character Bran, as a member of a different sect of the Witchers, which is known to the fandom, the School of the Cat, and they just do it as a very small dropped line about who they are, that he's isolated. That's quite a big thing in the world of The Witcher, and that the type of fans who are already annoyed at this show for taking its detours and for focusing on these three characters in the way they have, that kind of stuff actually winds them up even more, even if it's just a small reference to the rest of us who are watching a TV show or a movie that we're enjoying, in a world that we're enjoying. If you drop things in that are massive lore things from the games or from the books, and don't explain them to their satisfaction, they will rate you with a 1-star review.
Look, you can't please anyone, I guess, these days. Because my take on it is, certainly as a non-book reader and someone who's started the game, can't say it was something I was able to get fully in control of. I think Dragon Age was always preferable for me. But for me, I take, isn't it great that they're just making that reference to the other schools of being a Witcher? And to be honest, there's enough in this show which has got nothing to do with the School of the Cat, that comes out that says they have different methods and a different way. Yeah. It's like different monks, and different monastic orders. Yeah. And this one didn't suit Bren. Yeah. And the cat and the dog got together, and whilst they shouldn't work, they worked.
Cat the wolf, You're going to piss off the rest of the fans there, John. Get the wolf right. There's probably a dog one. The Moggy
and the mongrel, managed to come together, make it work, and actually that's why he then went back to the drink, was because in effect he felt as though he got his best mate killed. Exactly. Someone that he trusted. I thought it was a good part of the tale. And me, I've only read the one book. I wasn't hugely impressed with the writing style. That sometimes happens when something's translated as well. Absolutely. Wasn't hugely impressed with the writing style. I hope to find more of the books in the future and read them. I'm not opposed to doing that, but But if I'm starting a series and I've spent a lot of time reading a full book, probably not going to read too much more if it hasn't captured me after the full book. Yeah, translations. It's amazing how important they can be when it comes to, clearly they are, but then the quality of the translation, just how, that plays sometimes into it. And then must go the same the other way around. So, absolutely. It's really kind of interesting that, But 4 cries of the Jallowick out of 5. Very good, very good. We got a bit of feedback in for this movie from the wonderful Coffee and Vodka. He says, "Greetings, fellow fight-fixing defenders. It took 3 days to get past the first 45 minutes, but from the montage onwards, once the Rat Pack found a sense of discipline and impulse control, we were off on a grand heisty adventure. In many ways, the best mega-ep of the season, with Leo and Drago's able assistance. Just glad to learn of this movie episode when I did. Seeing the barrel full of watery heads, even mid-season, would have been a bit of a spoiler. 4 matches, blazes of glory, feckless tomorrows, and geriatric tussles out of 5. Peace and take care, Coffee and Vodka." Excellent stuff, Coffee and Vodka. Glad you enjoyed this. I think I'm right there with you. I do like the geriatric tussles. I guess that is in reference to Leo and Dolph going at it. Yeah, but he's got the Ivan Drago there as well. Yeah, exactly. So I really kind of agree. It's a good little special presentation. Yeah, it was a fun one. I'm glad it did get released. Even if it was just in the way that it got released. I kind of got the feeling that they'd started filming it and it may never have seen the light of day, and they just found a way to get it out there by bookending it with those pieces with Leo. Maybe that's why they put it in the way that they did, so that it could be released. Well, that's true. At least it wasn't written off as a tax return. Well, exactly. Some studios have done, and they've actually released it. So that it can actually be in the world. Fair dues on that as well. Absolutely. And one thing that Coffee and Vodka said there in his ratings, that's reminded me of a line from the episode I meant to mention, which was, he's called it the 4 matchless blazes of glory. I just thought Mistle's description of why she's with the group and how they saved her was quite interesting. She says, they numbed the pain of her loss, and by joining the rats, it allowed her to decide to go out in a blaze of glory with people that she liked and to light the match with this cruise. So
she's effectively saying in that line, she knows they're all destined to die, but she's willing to do it as long as she's standing side by side with the rest of them, which I just think is interesting as a line, because obviously we know they are now gone. So she is prepared for them all to die together. So just reminded me of that. Thanks, Coffee and Vodka. And thanks to all of you for joining us for our chat all about the rats at Wichita. We hope you watched it, and we hope you enjoyed it on Netflix. We'd love to hear from you and your thoughts on any of the shows that we cover. But particularly The Witcher, we're going to be covering the final season of The Witcher. I think that's coming out next year. It's all been filmed as far as I'm aware, so it's coming out in 2026. And you can contact us by emailing us to feedback@TV Podcast Industries, or popping on over to our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/TV Podcast Industries.
And of course, fellow Witchers, is a big thanks for joining us for our season 4 coverage of The Witcher and this Witcher's Tale, The Rats. Please support the podcast if you can, in any which way you can. We're over on patreon.com. We're over on buymeacoffee.com. Just search TV Podcast Industries. You can also share the podcast as well, because sharing the podcast is, of course, sharing the love.
Absolutely.
Indeedy doodly.
Yeah, next up on the main feed, Marvel's Wonder Man is coming at the end of January.
Yes.
We were originally expecting that to be coming in December. It was moved. We were talking about this the other day, that we think everybody's just moved out of the way of Stranger Things, right? Because Stranger Things released 4 episodes at Thanksgiving in the US, just at the end of November, 4 episodes on Christmas Eve, and then an episode on New Year's Day. The finale comes out. I think everybody just went, look, that's enough. Enough of genre stuff for all of December. So we will be doing our traditional podcast, which will hopefully be out before Wonder Man. Haven't got a date for it yet, but that's where we're going to be doing our wrap up of the shows we covered in 2025 and discussing the things that will be coming up in 2026. We usually release that at the start of January. So hopefully we'll be recording that over the next couple of weeks. So send in your thoughts about any of the shows that we've covered to the email address I mentioned before. We've covered loads of stuff this year. We've covered Invincible, Season 3, Star Wars Skeleton Crew, Captain America Brave New World, Daredevil Born Again, The Last of Us Season 2. We covered Ironheart, Gen V Season 2, the final season of The Sandman. We covered Marvel Zombies and Eyes of Wakanda in the animated Marvel universe. And movies-wise, we covered Fantastic Four First Steps and Thunderbolts. So lots of stuff that we've covered this year. And we'd love to hear your thoughts on all of them as we go into our wrap-up for those. And anything you're looking forward to next year, anything we may have missed this year that you'd love us to cover. There's a few things like that we'll be talking about on our wrap-up podcast for the year. Yeah.
Like the Wheel of Time, I'm guessing, maybe for some of our fellow listeners. But yeah, there's other stuff as well. I know we sometimes do get, suggestions through from our lovely listeners. So, definitely keep those coming in. We're always open to explore the potential for new ideas if we can. Just to put a big condition on that, though.
Yeah.
If we can.
Yes, of course. Of course. I know we've already had a suggestion for Drive to Survive. That's a joke. but yes, lots to talk about when we get to our wrap-up podcast before Wonder Man next month. Hopefully you will be listening along with us on our main feed on TV Podcast Industries, and we can't wait to talk more about wonderful TV shows and movies with you.
Absolutely. Great stuff. Thanks again, fellow Witchers, for joining us. And of course, as always, until the next time, keep watching, keep listening, and of course, keep witching.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.